Japan versus the world, creating manga in an international market. So we've already had this conversation about how the West is trying to take over manga essentially. And like my big fears with it is, of course, they're not Japanese. So they're not going to truly understand what it is that the Japanese people create and how they really express it. It's one thing to look at a piece of art and say, "Oh, I get it," versus being the one that creates it and it's yours, right? So taking something, you can definitely be inspired by it and definitely say, "Hey, I really like anime." So like for example, myself, I love Dragon Ball Z. I love it. I love it. I love it. I also know that there's flaws with it, but that doesn't mean that I necessarily have the skills, even though I'm a huge fan, to say, hey, this is how it could be better. Like, sure, you can create stories and what ifs and all this, right? I subscribe to subscribers that create these types of content like Salad Saying and other, DBZ tubers in general. But that doesn't mean just because you're inspired by it or you love it or you like it necessarily means that you can create it better than the people that made the shit originally. So yeah, let's go ahead and have this conversation. It's definitely a deep one. And I understand like yeah, America could probably put a cool twist on it or the West could put a cool twist on it and make it different, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be manga. But let's talk about it.
Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Chen. I run a manga and webtoon studio that produces
Let's
original
go.
IP in the anime manga
Okay.
webtoon space. I also
That's
write
big.
video games as well. And if you're new
Cool.
here, basically
You're a
I just answer your questions
creator.
about the industry that you guys submit. So these are real questions submitted by my followers
Cool.
and people on Patreon as well. So let's get right into the video. But before we do, drop a like for the YouTube algorithm. Really
All right,
helps us
brother.
out. Super, super, super.
I'll hit a
important.
like.
And then also subscribe if you're into more education.
We'll see.
And the
We'll see.
different
We'll
types of
see.
content I put out
You got to
on
earn the
YouTube.
sub,
And
but
as
you'll
you're
get the
watching
like.
Video, I would also encourage you to comment any questions that you guys might have for the next video. So let's get right into it. We're gonna start off
Nub.
with Patreon. If you guys didn't know, Patreon gets priority, so I pretty much answer a
course.
lot of the questions
They
on
pay.
Patreon, and then we
Yeah.
get to the questions that you guys submit on social media. So Anthony Friedlander says, "What are your favorite webtoons
Friedlander?
by other
Friedlander?
people?" Okay, so I really liked the early part of Teenage Mercenary. I thought that it had a very addicting premise, like a very overpowered character, slice of
Child-
life aspect.
child
but then it
soldiers?
kind of got bland later on, so it was kind of repeating the same tropes over and over again. So
Okay.
at a certain point, I dropped that series, but that was fun at the beginning. Omniscient Reader, I think, is a very nice twist on the system fantasy genre, and so I really like Omniscient Reader. The art's really fantastic as well. Pretty sure Studio Reed Ice is behind that. Solo Leveling, the art is really good. I'm not a big
I've heard a
fan
lot
of the
about
story.
Solo
The story's
Leveling.
just okay, but the art is fantastic, so I really like that for the art study on Solo Leveling. Jungle Juice, I think I talk about this series. It very much reminds me a lot of like shonen manga and the type of feel that
like
has
shonen.
from a narrative perspective. The art is also really strong from a line art perspective, and then the coloring is so good. The coloring is one of the best that I've seen in webtoons. So it's Jungle
Okay.
Juice. The Boxer is also really underrated. Oh, maybe it's properly rated. It's a very popular sports series. The art style is
Really?
less detailed.
Okay.
It's less detailed than a lot of the
Yeah, it
action
does
series
look
out there, but
pretty
it works for
normal.
this particular series. The way that the writing is done, particularly on showcasing different characters, showcasing the flow of
Techniques.
action, is really interesting.
Are they good with
Honestly,
techniques?
it's a pretty solid sports series, even outside the webtoon space. So, when
Okay.
you're comparing
I'm a big martial artist. Like martial arts is my thing. So if anybody has any martial arts manga or anime, I definitely love checking them out. Like King and Ashura, one of my favorites. Baki, obviously one of my favorites. If you guys have more, let me know in the comments below. I'll be sure to check them out.
it to sports manga or sports anime or
The Netflix one with the guy with the wolf that's inside of him, and then he goes crazy. Tiger King, that's hard too.
sports anything. Boxer is actually up there. It's pretty solid.
Okay.
Higan Bana, my favorite person who
Hajime
always
no
submits
Ippo,
questions on
that's up
Patreon,
there.
is asking, as a member of the master class with comics, do you have plans to serialize with them in the near future? I would love to serialize. I think right now Komipa and I are focused on Angel Wings because we have a pretty tight production schedule on there. Very difficult to serialize a manga at the same time as we're doing the webtoon series, so we're kind of all in on making sure that Angel Wings, which releases in October with webtoon, is the best that we can make it. So we're
That's
kind of
good.
all in on
Prioritize
that
your
in the
art,
future,
brother.
that would be awesome.
That's
but
good.
it's not exactly a priority right now because we're already
Okay.
serializing. Hyun Bana
Okay, do
then
your own
asks,
thing.
what are the biggest differences you notice between the Japanese manga market and the international manga market as a manga
Let's
creator
have this
yourself? Is there a
conversation. I like
difference in
this.
types of stories, characters, art that appear to perform better or appeal more to either market? I would say that it's a lot easier to go from the Japanese market to the US market versus the US market going to the Japanese market. I think there are certain things from my recent trip to Anime Expo, talked with a lot of producers and a lot of folks over there from there on the Japanese publishing side, and there are certain things from an art perspective, from a narrative perspective, that they particularly look for and that perform very well on platforms like Line Manga, etc. So in the manga space, I noticed that there's a lot more diversity of stories. Diversity of stories. You might get stuff that are, being serialized in Shonen Jump, which you could say have a general narrative, tropes that they do follow, right? Shonen Jump, a lot of the series kind of have the same spirit of friendship and perseverance and that kind of stuff. But,
Never give up
you get
type.
different types of stories, like stuff by Tatsuki Fujimoto, like Chainsaw Man, or
I hear
in
that's
other
hard.
shonen magazines like Attack on Titan, etc. So there's a lot of very different types of stories coming out of the manga
Crazy
space.
show, man.
When you look at the
Crazy.
webtoon space, stuff that's publishing online manga, I'm noticing that the top series there, first off, a lot of them are romance, starring a lot of women, and then a lot of them are also very
That's interesting. I'm wondering why is there more romance, man? Are people feeling like they need to become more romantic? Because as we see in life, less and less people are, getting eloped and even staying eloped if they get eloped. So yeah, that's interesting. Everybody needs love. So hopefully more people can find it, especially using these like webtoons to try and search that out. It sounds like something like a healthy way to try and figure it out.
what would be popular in Korea. So like a good example would be like the Soul Leveling type series out there, or a lot of the Korean romance series that perform well in Korea would also, tend to have some crossover with the Japanese market. And those tend to be the ones that are not super innovative narratively. There's actually some Japanese producers that I met, and they wanted to come over to the US market because one, the US market is growing a lot, but also because the readers here are a lot more open to different kinds of narratives. Like we're open to like Japanese and Korean narratives, but the Japanese market, for example, is a lot less receptive to like a narrative that was created in the US, unless it's like a Disney movie, basically. Especially in the manga and webtoon space. Like a lot of this stuff.
That's the crazy thing though. Like especially when you mention Disney, man, they've been dropping the ball consistently for years, right? And this is why I have my strong opinion that, I am nervous for the West to take more manga because I have a feeling that they're gonna be the type that's like a Niji Sanji for all the VTuber fans. If you don't know what VTubing is, there's a company called Niji Sanji, and their whole aspect is very similar to America, is where you just throw out a bunch of product, and if something sticks, boom, cool. But everything else that flopped, I mean, bro, that's like a waste. That is a waste of talent, money, creativity that you could have fleshed out if you actually cared about it. But at least, bro, I mean, like, bro, just look at America. Like, don't even you can't even pull the wool over my eyes, bro. They are not the type to really care that much about something unless it makes money. But they're not even willing. They're at least unless you can show me something. If you can show me somebody or some people or some company that is going to sit here and legitimately try and give a maximum effort, because there are places and people that have done this, right? Aaron Magruder with the Boondock series. It's not anime, but it is, right? Avatar: The Last Airbender. It's not anime, but it is, right? You can say it's not made in Japan, so it's not anime, it's not manga, but it has the spirit and it cares about its identity, right? If you can find me more people that care about identity whenever they're trying to mass produce a product, oh, I will gladly change my opinion. But until then, brother, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough, bro. But we will see, unfortunately, because times will change. We will see.
That was shipped over from the US market, like Lore Olympus, the biggest series on Webtoon, US at least, went over to the international
How'd it
market
go?
and was not performing at the international stage, which makes sense.
There
It's
it
not
is.
very anime manga vibe,
There it is.
right? And so
There it is.
It's
There it
it's
is.
tough. I think it's hard to say whether something in the US will perform in the Japanese market. So you definitely have to tailor things to
Japanese
to meet that
market's gonna be
audience almost.
tough.
Like thinking if you want to create like a series in the US that will be able to port over to Japan, you have to really think about, honestly, the Japanese audience first. That's what I'm thinking about. You think about the Japanese audience first, and then honestly, a lot of this stuff ports over here, and then you can find your audience here in the US, if that makes sense. It's not going to be
Yes, because Japan has always been Japan first, Japanese first.
like
Let me get a better pause. Yeah, Japan first, Japanese first, right? And then Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball Z, Yu Yu Hakusho, all these things were Japanese first, and then it went out, and then more people grabbed it and was like, yes, we love this, we want more of this, right? But it was always Japanese first. When it vice versa, it doesn't always work out. And apparently, this webcomic that just popped up, that's an example of how it does not work.
a wide audience like Deadpool and Wolverine, right? But
Deadpool's
it's
fire.
an
Wolverine's
audience that is
fire.
still international.
But Deadpool Wolverine the movie, it was honestly okay. It was okay fire, but it definitely wasn't like, bro, this wasn't Endgame. Like this wasn't the next level stuff, but it was cool, and I'm excited to see what else they can do with it. But I'm waiting for something that pulls me. There's a lot of stuff in this world, whether it's video games, manga, anime, TV, whatever it is. There's a lot of it that's just out there. And there's a lot of it that's okay slash mid. I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for the next big thing. I'm looking for something that grabs my soul and my attention, right? Something like Fearin. Fearin's amazing. At the same time, Fearin isn't for me. Even though I've sat and I've watched it, and I'm like, yeah, this show is absolutely great. I see why people love it. It's not for me. So that's what I'm looking for, right? This is a personal thing, a me thing. This isn't the video thing. This is like, yeah, show me something. Show KhunShawn something, right? Show me something. But we will see. We will see what can be shown.
So I think the ultimate challenge, though, is like hitting something that blows up in Japan and blows up in the US. That's probably the hardest thing to do right now. Let's go right to questions that you guys submitted to me. What are some ways that you and your team implement animation techniques into your webtoons? So I really think of webtoons as like almost like the keyframes of animation. So you're not really doing the in-betweens. So a lot of the stuff that you might do in animation and having people specifically do stuff like background artists, background colorists, all that kind of stuff. We have that kind of pipeline on my series Angel Wings, which is like, I think Komipa, who's the lead artist there, also worked in the animation space, which is why he wanted to build the team like that. But also he's from the manga space as well. So, he's kind of got the best of both worlds there.
Those are some nice looking stills.
Wanted to build the team like that. But also
There's a lot of energy in this. I love the facial expressions as well. Wide stance showing a lot of power. You have the electricity and you have the enemies being disintegrated in the background. I love this. This looks good.
from the manga space as well. So
I like this still. You have this big ominous threat in the background. I'm not sure if this is from her power. If it is, that's absolutely amazing. You have the nice impacts, the nice circling. The ground is being shaken, right? I like this. This is a good still.
he's kind of got the best of both worlds there. I would say from the animation perspective, I mean, most of the influence that we have for the webtoons that we've been doing recently are definitely from animation. So I would say, yeah, we study a lot of like keyframes. But even when you're looking at the keyframes of animation, a lot of those keyframes for the anime space are taken from like impactful panels from the original source material manga, right?
Yes.
So you could say, hey, we're taking some
They're
stuff
going
from
off of
animation,
something.
sure.
Yes.
Especially from coloring, because manga is not colored. We take inspiration from
That's
a lot
good.
of webtoons, but also a lot of like anime as well. Yeah, I would say like those are probably the main things that we really take away from animation. Webtoon as a
I like to hear
medium
that.
kind of reads like you're watching something almost, because you're scrolling. You have one panel
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
screen.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
not
yeah.
like manga where you have like
Multiple.
like 5 panels on
Multiple.
your page at a time, and you're kind of like looking.
And
at
you
all
can
the
move it
pages with your
around.
single
Yeah,
eye.
yeah.
For
Yeah,
webtoon,
yeah.
you're kind of looking at one frame,
One
at a
after the
time,
other.
or maybe
That's
maximum
big.
2. And
That's a
that's why
different
it kind
medium.
of feels like kind of like watching a TV show, but you're scrolling to make the show happen.
You're
That's
putting
kind
it
of
in
the
your
best way for
head.
me to
Yes,
explain
yes.
that. Do
That's
you
cool.
feel
That's
when
cool.
you come up with a cool story idea?
Bro, you can make so many cool transitions. Like just me figuring this out, because I'm not into webtoon. I don't watch it. I don't whatever, right? But just hearing it and thinking about it and visualize, because I'm a visual type of guy. I can put this in my brain. Not everybody can do this thing, right? It sounds like you can be absolutely amazing, right? So if you're just scrolling, right, you can purposely make an impactful frame jump from one to the other just by scrolling. It can give an animation in your brain. That's absolutely amazing. I love this medium. It sounds amazing. I should jump into it more.
but over time grow to think meh all the time. I have this I think a lot of the old stories that I did, especially when I was a teenager, now I'm kind of like, that was just kind of mid, you know.
That's fine.
It's
You
like a
gotta
teenager coming up with
level
it.
up.
But
That's
at
fine.
the time,
It's
I
a growing
thought that it was the
process.
best thing that I could come up with.
And
So
good.
as you
And that's exactly how you should look at it. Your current work is your best work forever. You're only as good as your next big thing, but always focus on what you're doing now. Because if you're so like, oh man, I'm not liking this, da 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 da. Okay, well, like sure, other people are gonna like it, but if you're not happy with it, okay, what's the point, right? Like same when I'm making this video, like I'm pausing it, whatever. Other people might not like it. I could give a hell rat's ass whatever that person thinks. There's several reaction videos you can go watch. You don't need to watch mine, right? But I break it down the way I like it, and if other people gravitate towards it, absolutely amazing. Welcome aboard. Hit the subscribe button and hit like while you're down there. Great. That's what I love to see, and that's what I love to have in my community. This is the same way you need to feel whenever you're creating whatever it is you're creating, whether it's music, manga, animation, whatever. You focus on it and you say, this is me putting my essence into my work right now. And if you do that for the rest of your life, you will have nothing but a track record of amazingness. Even if you might look at it like mid, yeah, it's mid because you've gotten so much better. You've leveled up progressively. Okay, you play a video game, you go in an MMO, right? You're level 30, you're like, damn, I'm pretty strong. And you get to level 60, and then you look at the level 30 zone and you're like, damn, I thought this was hard. Like, no, it wasn't hard. You've gotten progressively better. Yes, that's the point, and I love to hear this, bro. Keep going.
improve, you naturally think your other ideas are lesser in comparison, and that's just because you're a better creator.
You're getting better. Yes,
better stories.
You're leveling up.
Better projects. So I think if you think that a previous project is below you, then that simply means that you've grown as a creator.
Growth.
Or your
Yes.
previous idea was bad and you were just emotional and driven by emotion
And that could also be true. That could also be 100% true.
in the moment, maybe. What is your
But
favorite
that's okay.
stories you create and the one you have the most faith in? I can't pick between
That's
my children.
wild.
Come on.
Yeah,
Crazy,
that's wild.
Crazy statement. Can't
That's
answer that.
wild.
Did you talk about story ideas with your friends and family? What is their usual feedback? So a lot of my friends.
That's interesting.
I have friends who like anime that I've met through the internet mostly, and then I have my
Awesome.
friends who are
Internet friends are real.
like, meeting in real life. A lot of them don't care about anime or manga, so it's hard for me to share those projects with them because they don't really understand the landscape. I do like to talk about entertainment, general entertainment.
They can't go into the
movies, film,
deep
TV with them.
nuance.
And then I kind of gauge like, hey, this is what they like. This is what they, they like this Disney movie for XYZ reason. They like this animation for XYZ reason, this movie, whatever. And then I kind of like take notes of that in my brain and I'm like, oh, like this is what like, not normal people, but like this is what like the average human being consumes. And then I try and see like, hey, what do
That's kind of a tough one. The average human being, like, bro, everybody's on TikTok, social medias, like algorithms are different for every single person on this planet, right? So it's kind of hard for you to gauge that, but I can kind of get like what are the similar nuances that each person like, right? Why do everybody like a specific trend or a specific song? Usually it's the chorus, but it's beyond the chorus where you can find the true fans, right? The true people that the messenger is trying to reach out into the audience. So yeah, this is an interesting. You're a very interesting guy, mangaka Brandon Chen, bro. You're a very interesting guy. You earned my sub. You're a very interesting young man.
what do they like versus what do my anime friends like? So I always take into account that kind of stuff. But the most like feedback that I get, sometimes I'll pitch it to my friends who don't like anime just to see if this would
Good.
resonate with like
Yeah,
a normal
why not?
audience outside of an anime lover. Good example is like Angel Wings and my series Double Kill. I pitched those to my friends who don't care about anime, and a lot of them were like really interested in the premise, and that means that the premise
And that's good.
the
There you
vibe
go.
resonates
Yes.
even outside of the anime space, which
And
is
that's
good, because
important.
if I want to go transmedia to live action one day, for example, then that
Exactly.
becomes a lot more possible
Yes,
because of the
yes,
premise, right?
yes.
Versus like
The ground roots is solidified in, hey, boom, we have a premise, everybody likes it. It doesn't matter what color it is. You can make it an anime, you can make it a hentai, you can make it a live action. It doesn't matter. As long as the premise is the same, everything else can go around it.
let's say you do a premise for a concept like Prison School. Prison School is an anime
Speaking of
that is
hentai.
quite delinquent, and it's very hard to turn that into a live action series outside of the anime space because it would be kind of weird and it would not resonate with a
It
lot
wouldn't
of normal
resonate.
human beings.
No, it
that
would
are
not.
not degenerates. In
It would
total,
not.
how many chapters do you write in a week or a month or a year? You know, I've recently been trying to
Wow.
write 2 chapters
That's
a
a
day.
big question.
They might not. They might be for a different series. They might be for one series. 2 chapters a day, which is I try and do that like.
What song is this? It's Bluebird, right?
6 days a week, maybe one day I
Bluebird
take
from
off. It's not
Naruto.
even taking off. One day I focus on production, which is like more art production or marketing or whatever it is. And so I try and write 2 chapters a day for most of the year. So you can do the math, run the numbers on that. How do you manage budget for your studio for payroll?
That's a good question.
I
Okay.
come from consulting,
Yes.
so I kind of understand budget.
Okay, consulting is big. Yeah,
Payroll,
consulting
this
is
is all
big.
business
Payroll is
stuff.
big.
Like you can
Business
Google
is
like a
big.
YouTube video on like how to run a small business.
No, bro. No, the fuck you cannot. Like, yeah, you can Google or you look at a YouTube video, but that doesn't necessarily equate to success like you have done. The 200,000 subscribers, the payroll, the lawyer, like, yeah, you can have a basis, but business to business, okay, businessman to businessman, it is absolutely different for each person. But yeah, there are some ground things that are important, like having a lawyer and the payroll, of course. But running your business versus running mine is not the same.
That's probably
That's why they're
what I
asking,
did.
because
And
it's
then there's
different.
budgets that come from publishers, and I allocate them in a way that I understand from my background in consulting. But yeah, I think it's tough. I think eventually, as I get more projects going, I'm gonna have to eventually start getting a person that sole purpose is to like manage
Business.
bank account
Yes,
and
you need
pay
to.
people out. Can you tell me more
100%.
about you working with
That's
another
big.
writer on a project? If so, doesn't fights happen? Yeah, so a good example of that is like
that's
Just
a big question.
Goblin,
That's a good one.
which is me and JK's manga writing Just a Goblin. We don't fight because usually what happens when you're doing any sort of series that's co-writing, especially serialized, is that someone has to take the wheel. Someone has to take the
of
wheel,
course.
and the other writer
It's
has
creativity.
to be supporter. If you have
Yes.
a writer's room, like in animation or in film, it's a little bit different, but you move a lot slower when you do that because you have all these different heads, butting heads. I think they do that at Pixar too. They have different people. They have like a group setting, and they're all in they're
Of course.
whiteboarding and
Yes,
stuff. If you want to move
100%.
fast, you have to have one vision, and you
Yes,
have to
you
have one
do.
person spearheading it, and the other person
Yes.
supporting that writer.
Yes.
And so for Just a Goblin, as an example, Jack and I were very involved together at the early stages of the production, and then as the series went on, I took the wheel, and because
Yes,
of that,
you
now
started
I'm
fleshing it
basically
out.
steering Just a Goblin.
Yes.
With occasional feedback from Jack. For Blood System, which is the Just a Goblin spin-off that's happening, it's the reverse. So Jack is taking the wheel. I'm more supporting. So I'm not really touching the story. I'm just kind of giving him feedback and giving suggestions from an art direction perspective. But I'm letting him run the story pretty much, right? And we're kind of like co-writers on that.
That's
so
good.
Just the Goblin's being run by me.
And it's very easy because it's only 2 of them, right? If they had like 5 people, 10 people, it gets even more difficult. But yeah, what he's saying is true. Absolutely, there has to be a leader, a driver, a captain of the ship, and then you got to have people supporting the vision to make the dream come true. Absolutely true.
Blood Systems being run by him, and that's the best way I think that you can write for serialized projects, because you kind of have to follow someone's vision if you want to be able to
that's
pump out
everything
projects or
in the
chapters
world
every
with
single
creativity.
week. And you
Yes.
can't be fighting, you can't be arguing. There's no
No,
time
you
for
just
that.
have
So that
to
would be
trust
my
the
thought
process.
How do you
Yeah.
stay organized working on so many projects? I have like project managers. I have someone who literally just bothers me when I have deadlines due. And
Good.
I have Excel spreadsheets that I sometimes check.
Excel? Oh,
But
boy, he
sometimes
doesn't
I don't
check.
have time
Word.
to,
Shout
but
out to the
usually
editor.
I give the Excel spreadsheet of my deadlines to someone, and that person chases me down. As you start to get more
Yeah.
projects and
Yeah.
scale, I
That
started to
sounds
bring in
about
more
right.
people to help me be able to meet that scale and keep organized.
That's
How
a
do you
good
find
team,
artists
though.
to-
That's actually a sign of a good team. Like, even the editor is like, yeah, he's not checking the Excel. Well, if the editor knows you're not checking the Excel and the rest of the team knows you're not checking it, well, then that's good because they're watching your back because they know that you don't check it, so they make sure that everything's good.
Work with just
That's a
hanging
good team.
around on Instagram, having friends, generally seeing portfolios, just making friends pretty much. Are you single or married?
That's a good question.
I'm definitely not married, and I am semi-recently single. Semi-recently as in
Well, welcome back to the dating pool. Yeah, that's literally
been
what
like
that
half a
means.
year, maybe. So.
Yeah, bro. Welcome back to the dating pool.
Yeah,
Good luck,
I'm
brother.
a single fella, just living the best life in New York.
In
Anyway,
New York.
we'll have one more question. Is Double Kill going to match the horror things of Jujutsu Kaisen? So if you didn't know, Double Kill is my new series. We're aiming for a November launch. It is with Umair, who did Icarus Rising and Somnia with me. Those are both projects that we did. Like, or Somnia, we've been working together since we were teenagers, which is pretty crazy.
That's
when you think
good.
about it.
That's a
And
good
we were coming
history.
from the manga space. Now we got a webtoon serialization with webtoon. And Double Kill is kind of like Jujutsu Kaisen, Bleach, and John Wick fused in.
Oh shit! I I ain't gonna lie. This sounds like the manga for me, bro. You said John Wick. You said Jujutsu Kaisen. You said fucking Bankai. You said Bleach. Oh yeah, send me the link, bro. Link it in the Discord. Link down below. Join the Discord and drop that fire, bro. Because that's what it sounds like.
into one story,
Let's
which is really,
go.
really exciting and
That
really
shit sound
intensive. Is it
fire,
gonna have the
bro.
Jujutsu Kaisen horror vibes? I don't think so. I think we're kind of leaning more towards like a Bleach type of vibe where everyone's kind of
Okay.
cool. It's less horror or supernatural horror and more focused on cool colors, cool
Okay.
characters,
Cool.
badass.
That's
Like
fine.
again,
That
it's
sounds
John
good.
Wick and Bleach, right?
Yeah.
And Bleach is what inspired Jujutsu Kaisen. Fun fact. And so I think yeah, those
Yo,
are kind of
let's
like definitely
go.
the vibes that we're leaning.
I'm telling people, bro, Bleach is one of the greatest animes, bro. And for some reason, people don't like to admit that.
Into and
It's
especially it's
crazy.
difficult to do
Shout out to
horror
Taite
with a
Kubo.
teen rating the way Jujutsu Kaisen does it. Jujutsu Kaisen, because it's black and white manga, it's a lot easier to do violence that can
Yes.
still get like a teen rating
'Cause it's
like
black and
shonen.
white,
But
yeah.
for webtoon, if we get a mature rating, that's not what I want.
That's
I want
death.
a PG-13
That's almost
series
death.
so that more people
Yeah.
can read it. And
That's tough.
you know, I think if
That's
you
gonna be
do
tough,
too
brother.
much blood or dismemberment and it's colored, color makes it that much more
Yes.
visceral when you're reading
Yes.
it, and that's why it's
Yes.
a lot harder to it's a lot easier to get
It's harder
like,
to
accidentally
sell.
slip into that mature rating, which is not
Yes.
what we want. So I
Yes.
think for horror
And how are you gonna do that, bro? Because you said John Wick. He killed someone with a pencil, and then they showed it. Like, yeah, brother. Like, you're either gonna ride the line into making something mid, or you're going to embrace the craziness. Because, like, bro, you said John Wick. That's John fucking Wick, man. And I don't normally swear. That's John Wick. Okay, that's gonna be big, and you have color on top of it. Like, I mean, good luck to you. I mean, it sound fire. I mean, hey, I'm praying for you to succeed, bro. Let's go.
horror stuff, like we're trying to stay out of that like too horror. There are some like scary or like visually like intensive scary type stuff that might be like more monster vibes for Double Kill, but it's not like people's arms and legs getting shredded apart. It's not like, you know, someone
Yeah,
getting
yeah,
cut
yeah,
in
yeah.
half
It's
or
not like
whatever.
Chainsaw Man.
There is like some violence that is pretty intense, but
Bro, I
it's
hope
nothing
so.
that
You say
won't
John
go
Wick.
outside of like what I would perceive
Somebody
as,
get
like,
shot.
possible for a traditional shonen series. Anyway, that's all we got for today's video. Thank you guys so much for submitting your questions. If you
Cool
have more
video.
questions, drop them in the comments. This is a long ass video. I'm yapping.
Bro, 15
Thank
minutes?
you guys so much
Oh,
for
but bro, how much did you cut out? Hold on, that's a good question because this is a 15-minute video. So how much did you cut out? Like an hour?
watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in
Oh, they forgot to put the thing. They forgot. Hey, fire your editor,
the
bro.
next video. Peace out.
I'm kidding. You don't gotta fire them, but hey, they dropped the ball. Okay, well that was a cool video, man. Shout out to the Discord because that's where this came from, bro. It was an awesome video, man. Japan versus the world. So yeah, it definitely wasn't that big of a conversation versus the Japanese versus the Western interpretation of manga and anime, which I thought that's what it was based off the title. But it's all good, man. It was still a good video. I learned a lot about a webtoon, and that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool to learn about. Mangaka Brandon Chen, bro. You're doing a good job, man. I like to see that you're making your visions come true. You seem like a good
Jujutsu
leader.
Kaisen.
You have a nice team around you. They take care of you. You have a good support base. You have a cool fan base. They're out here rooting for your success, and you're creating art. Creating art is not easy. Some people think art is like whatever. It's way easier for you to clock into a 9 to 5 and have a manager tell you to, clean the floor or make some food versus having to sit here with your own thoughts and try and put it out to the world and have the world accept it. Way harder. But yeah, keep doing your thing, bro. I'm supporting you. It's your boy KhunShawn, man. Hit the like button, subscribe if you guys are new, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.